I look at this task force creation and I'm really excited about it.
Every few years, the crypto market produces a project that moves from being just another token to becoming the invisible engine of global transformation. And right now, that project is HBAR. But here's the wild part. Most of the world still has no idea. While everyone's busy chasing meme coins and hyping new airdrops, some of the largest institutions on the planet are quietly aligning themselves with the Hedera network. We're talking about Google, IBM, Dell, Boeing, Standard Bank, UBS, and even LG Electronics all sitting at the same table. That's not a retail project. That's a global coordination. And it's happening right under our noses. Let's rewind for a second. In every major crypto cycle, there's always one moment when the big players step in, not for speculation but for infrastructure. They don't care about hype. They care about efficiency, security, and governance. That's exactly what Hedera Hashgraph offers. It's not a blockchain in the traditional sense, it's a next-generation distributed ledger built for enterprise-grade scale. While Ethereum and Solana are fighting over gas fees and congestion, Hedera has quietly built a network that can handle 10,000 plus transactions per second, with finality in seconds and near zero fees. And when you're a Fortune 500 company moving billions across supply chains or financial systems, that's the kind of tech you notice. The invisible infrastructure of the future. Here's what's crazy. Hedera isn't even trying to be flashy. There's no cultish branding, no to-the-moon marketing. Instead, it's being built like the next version of the internet itself, slow, deliberate, and unstoppable. Think about it. The Hedera Governing Council isn't made up of random names. It's a who's who of global powerhouses. Google Cloud runs a network node. IBM helped shape the enterprise security model. Boeing oversees aerospace data tracking. Standard Bank leads African financial connectivity. UBS and Nomura bring traditional finance experience. These aren't sponsors. They're governors. They literally manage the codebase, approve updates, and direct how Hedera evolves. That's why analysts are calling it the institutional layer of Web3. It's not about speculation. It's about control, trust, and interoperability. The global economy is entering its most fragile moment in decades. We've got inflation squeezing currencies, governments racing to launch CBDCs, and AI demanding faster, tamper-proof data systems. Legacy blockchains can't handle that level of coordination. They're too slow, too expensive, and too politically fragmented. That's why institutions are pivoting. They need something stable, scalable, and compliant. And that's the niche HBAR has locked down perfectly. Hedera isn't just another network. It's designed for enterprise trust at global scale. Its consensus mechanism, Hashgraph, doesn't rely on miners or validators fighting for rewards. It uses gossip about gossip, a digital conversation between nodes that's insanely fast and mathematically fair. That's not marketing fluff. That's the kind of system banks and governments dream of. While retail investors argue over which meme coin will 100x, institutions are quietly onboarding into Hedera's ecosystem through pilot programs and tokenization platforms. For example, HSBC and Standard Chartered have been exploring tokenized assets using DLT frameworks compatible with Hedera. FIS Global, one of the largest payment processors in the world, has been testing digital settlement solutions that link with Hedera nodes. The UK's Digital Pound Foundation, of which Ripple, Quant, and Hedera are all members, is developing standards for national-level tokenization. The message is clear. HBAR is positioning itself as the digital backbone of the new financial era. And that's exactly why you're starting to see whispers across institutional circles. Whispers that say, BAR's not the next Ethereum. It's the next infrastructure. You see, when institutions adopt new tech, they don't announce it with fireworks. They do it quietly under NDAs, through pilot programs, and through maintenance windows that just happen to align with major network upgrades. Right now, Hedera's mainnet is showing increased transaction throughput, new tokenized asset flows, and growing corporate wallet activity. All the same indicators that preceded XRP's institutional adoption waves. And here's the kicker. Hedera's next upgrade cycle, focused on tokenization, carbon markets, and AI integration, is set to unlock a floodgate of enterprise use. It's not speculation. It's preparation. And the ones preparing? The same global entities that shape monetary policy, supply chains, and digital infrastructure. So when we say the largest institutions are about to adopt HBAR, it's not a guess. It's a pattern. The pattern that repeats every time a quiet revolution begins. See, while crypto Twitter was busy chasing the next meme trend, something much bigger, much quieter was forming, a corporate alliance of giants building the next version of the internet, and it's running on Hedera. Most people don't realize that Hedera isn't a company. It's governed by a council, a decentralized board of some of the world's most powerful corporations and institutions. And not just random tech companies. We're talking about names that literally run global infrastructure. Google Cloud, responsible for billions of cloud transactions daily. IBM, the backbone of enterprise data since the dawn of computing. Boeing, overseeing global aerospace supply chains. LG Electronics, powering consumer hardware innovation. Dell Technologies, the core of digital transformation. Standard Bank, one of Africa's biggest financial institutions. FIS Global, handling payment processing for over 20,000 financial clients. All of them are not just using Hedera, they're governing it. They literally sit on the board, vote on updates, approve network changes, and shape the digital infrastructure of tomorrow. You've got to pause and ask yourself, why would companies like these, who could build their own private ledgers, decide to share governance on a public network like Hedera? The answer: trust and transparency. The truth is, most blockchains just don't fit the enterprise mold. They're either too slow, too volatile, or too politically messy. Ethereum, great for DeFi, not ideal for global settlement. Bitcoin, fantastic store of value, terrible for scalability. Solana, fast but not built for corporate-grade compliance. Hedera, on the other hand, was designed from day one to solve these problems. It offers predictable fees, instant finality, and real governance. Not governance by anonymous whales, governance by institutions that have reputations on the line. That's why it's trusted to handle real-world tokenization, not just NFTs and memes, but things like supply chain assets, digital IDs, real estate tokens, green energy credits, financial instruments, and all of that runs on the HBAR token, the fuel of the network. When transactions happen, whether it's a micropayment, a carbon credit transfer, or a tokenized asset swap, HBAR is moving silently in the background, powering it all. That's the secret sauce here. Hedera isn't competing for hype. It's building for inevitability. Another reason the big players love Hedera? Interoperability. We're moving into a multi-chain world. No single blockchain will dominate. Instead, hundreds of networks will connect and communicate. Hedera was engineered to be the bridge layer, the thing that connects traditional systems to decentralized infrastructure. For example, ServiceNow, one of the world's largest enterprise workflow platforms, uses Hedera for asset tracking and record validation. Atma.io, powered by Avery Dennison, runs billions of supply chain transactions on Hedera to prove product authenticity, from sneakers to pharmaceuticals. DLA Piper, a global law firm, uses Hedera to manage tokenized real estate and securities through its platform Toko. Billions of transactions. Real companies. Real-world impact. This isn't theory. It's execution. And every single one of those interactions is anchored by HBAR. That's why we're calling this phase the corporate takeover. Not because corporations are hijacking crypto, but because they're quietly integrating it into the very fabric of their operations. And when they do, the average retail investor won't even realize that HBAR is running underneath it all. Let's talk about Google Cloud for a second. When Google joined the Hedera Governing Council in 2020, they didn't just slap their logo on a press release. They started hosting a Hedera network node, making them an active participant in consensus. Google even integrated HBAR metrics directly into its cloud console, meaning developers can now monitor Hedera data alongside their regular enterprise apps. Think about that for a second. One of the most powerful cloud platforms in the world has given developers the tools to build Hedera-based applications natively inside Google Cloud. That's not speculation. That's mainstream integration. And once Google moves, others follow. That's why, shortly after, we saw IBM deepen its focus on digital identity and sustainability projects through Hedera's framework. Then Dell Technologies joined, focusing on data integrity for AI systems, something that will become mission-critical as generative AI scales. These moves are not coincidence. They're coordination. Here's the uncomfortable truth for many crypto projects. Institutions are tired of the noise. They don't want coins with cult followings, they want infrastructure that can scale globally without breaking. And HBAR offers exactly that. Its consensus algorithm, Hashgraph, is not only faster than blockchain but also mathematically fair. It prevents front-running, maintains predictable performance, and uses a governance model that ensures no single entity has absolute control. In short, it's the corporate internet's dream system. That's why you're seeing governments, banks, and multinationals quietly pivoting toward Hedera-based frameworks. From the Digital Pound Foundation in the UK to carbon credit registries in Asia, HBAR is becoming the default engine of trust. And when those systems go live, nobody's going to announce it on Twitter. You'll just wake up one day and realize every major enterprise platform is using Hedera without ever calling it crypto. Here's where it gets fascinating. Institutions don't adopt technology the same way retail investors do. They move through phases: research, pilot, integration, then standardization. Right now, Hedera is transitioning from integration to standardization, meaning it's not about if they'll adopt HBAR, but how many industries it will quietly dominate. From logistics to finance, energy markets, healthcare data, and digital identity, BAR's fingerprints are already there. You just don't see it yet because the biggest revolutions never start loud. They start quietly. And when the floodgates open, people will look back and say, wait, how did Hedera become the backbone of the new economy? We're entering a moment where every major system, money, identity, and data, is being rebuilt for the digital age. And if you zoom out, you'll notice one thing. Everything needs to be faster, verifiable, and decentralized, but still trusted. That's where Hedera HBAR becomes unstoppable. Because while most blockchains are fighting to prove they can do enterprise-level utility, Hedera is already doing it quietly, efficiently, and at scale. Let's start with the financial system. We're living through a once-in-a-century monetary shift, central banks racing towards CBDCs, global institutions pushing tokenization, and digital assets merging with traditional banking rails. And who's powering the back end of these experiments? Hedera's fingerprints are everywhere. For instance, the London School of Economics published studies highlighting how Hedera's consensus model fits perfectly for real-time settlement systems, something central banks are desperate to achieve. The Digital Pound Foundation, where Hedera sits alongside Ripple, Quant, and Avalanche, is exploring how national currencies can interact through distributed ledgers. Standard Bank is testing DLT frameworks for cross-border remittances and digital bonds, with Hedera as the infrastructure layer. This is bigger than price charts or partnerships. It's the plumbing of global finance being replaced piece by piece. And when those pipes go live, they won't call it crypto adoption. They'll call it financial modernization. But under the hood, that's HBAR quietly facilitating the trust layer, verifying every transaction, validating every token, and securing every audit trail. Now let's talk about AI. You've probably seen how fast artificial intelligence is growing, from ChatGPT to autonomous systems to predictive trading. But here's the problem. AI needs trusted data. If AI models are fed false or corrupted information, the entire system collapses. That's where Hedera comes in. When Dell Technologies joined the Hedera Council, they specifically mentioned AI data integrity as their focus. Using Hedera's Hashgraph consensus, AI-generated or AI-used data can be timestamped, verified, and traced, all without slowing the system down. In other words, HBAR becomes the truth engine for AI. Imagine a future where every AI action, from supply chain automation to autonomous finance, runs on verifiable data stored and secured by Hedera. That's not science fiction, it's literally being built right now. And the crazy part? You don't need billions of HBAR transactions for that system to work, just consistent, high-value use. That's why institutions love it. It's sustainable, reliable, and doesn't require hype to be useful. Now, let's talk about digital identity, the next trillion-dollar industry. Governments, banks, and corporations are all trying to solve one problem. How do you prove who someone is securely, instantly, and globally? Traditional systems use centralized databases. They're slow, hackable, and full of privacy risks. Hedera changes that equation. Because of its low cost and fast consensus, it's ideal for verifiable credentials, digital IDs that can prove identity without revealing private details. Projects like IWA, Interwork Alliance, and DLA Piper's Toko have already demonstrated how digital certificates and real estate identities can run on Hedera. Think about it. When you log into your bank, apply for a visa, or prove ownership of an asset, all that could soon be powered by HBAR. And here's the kicker. This is exactly what governments and corporations have been waiting for. A trusted network that's not run by a single country or company, but still maintains legal-grade verification. That's Hedera, and HBAR is the heartbeat keeping that ecosystem alive. One of the biggest selling points for Hedera, and one of the most underrated, is its carbon-negative design. While Bitcoin burns more electricity than some nations, Hedera offsets its entire footprint through carbon credits and energy-efficient consensus. That's why carbon markets, a trillion-dollar industry in the making, are starting to deploy directly on Hedera. The Guardian project, for example, is building open-source frameworks for environmental asset tokenization. This means companies can create, trade, and retire carbon credits, all verified on the Hedera network. It's not just green, it's legitimately auditable. And for institutions facing ESG regulations, that's a goldmine. They need blockchain-backed carbon tracking that's both compliant and public, and Hedera is currently one of the only networks built to handle that kind of real-world complexity. So let's zoom out again. We've covered finance, AI, digital identity, and sustainability. Each of these industries is worth trillions, and all of them are starting to converge on one unassuming, efficient network, Hedera. You see, the future of crypto isn't about which coin pumps next. It's about which networks the world quietly starts to depend on. And right now, that network is Hedera. It's not fighting for hype. It's building the infrastructure that hype will one day rely on. The same way TCP/IP quietly powered the internet before anyone cared, Hedera is quietly powering the next evolution of global trust. And when institutions go live, when their systems are connected, transactions tokenized, and data verified, every single piece of that flow will touch HBAR. It won't make headlines overnight. But when the lights come on, you'll realize this wasn't just a crypto project. This was the new internet forming in real time. Every major financial revolution has a moment, that point in time when the noise fades and the truth becomes impossible to ignore. For Bitcoin, it was when institutions started calling it digital gold. For Ethereum, it was when DeFi and NFTs exploded overnight. And now, for HBAR, that moment is approaching faster than anyone expected. The signs are all around us, you just have to zoom out far enough to see the full picture. Once one major institution moves, the rest follow. That's how it's always worked. It's not about who believes first. It's about who confirms the technology works in the real world. When Google, IBM, Dell, and Standard Bank joined the Hedera Governing Council, it wasn't just about partnerships or experiments. It was about validation. That validation is now spreading like wildfire. Financial institutions are realizing that Hedera isn't a crypto toy. It's a global coordination layer. Tech companies are realizing that it's the trust protocol they've been waiting for. Governments are realizing it's the only network capable of handling CBDC-scale transactions while staying energy efficient and transparent. This is the beginning of what insiders are already calling the institutional wave. Not retail hype, not meme cycles. A real systemic shift in how the world moves data, value, and identity. And if you're holding HBAR before that wave crests, you're early. Very early. Here's something most investors miss. Hedera's success won't come from sudden headlines. It'll come from usage quietly multiplying in the background. Each transaction, whether it's a bank settling a bond, an AI verifying data, or a company trading carbon credits, uses HBAR. That's real demand, not speculation. Right now, transaction volumes on Hedera are already in the billions per month, and that's before most of these enterprise integrations even go live. This means HBAR isn't just another crypto project waiting for hype. It's an economic engine that's already turning, invisible to most people, but visible to those who understand where the world is heading. We're standing on the edge of a new digital economy. And if you follow the clues, you can see the timeline forming. Over the next year, we'll likely see major banks and payment networks rolling out tokenized asset systems built on Hedera-compatible frameworks. Governments and public agencies launching identity pilots using verifiable credentials anchored by Hedera. Global brands tokenizing carbon credits and supply chains through the Guardian platform. And potentially, the first interoperable CBDC experiments involving BAR's consensus layer for settlement. Individually, these might look like small announcements, but together they form the blueprint of a financial reset, one built not on speculation but infrastructure. And the longer the world ignores it, the more powerful the eventual realization becomes. That's why smart investors are quietly accumulating. Because when the flood of utility-driven demand finally hits, HBAR won't just pump, it'll reprice. If you're an HBAR holder, this is the time to be strategic, not emotional. This isn't about chasing short-term pumps. It's about recognizing positioning before confirmation. The institutions are already preparing. The network is already scaling. And adoption is already happening. It's just hidden behind layers of enterprise discretion and regulatory silence. So here's the mindset to hold. Don't chase the noise. Watch the infrastructure. Because when the lights finally come on, and the world realizes that HBAR has become the backbone of institutional Web3, it'll be too late to reposition. This isn't financial advice. It's simply pattern recognition, the same pattern that's repeated with every major technological paradigm shift. You don't wait for the world to believe. You prepare before it does. The truth is, Hedera isn't building the next blockchain. It's building the Internet of Trust. Every asset, every ID, every data point, every contract, all verified, immutable, and connected through one seamless layer of truth. That's the dream institutions have been chasing for decades. And that's what HBAR is quietly delivering. Not with noise, but with results. So as this next wave forms, remember, the biggest opportunities don't come when everyone's watching. They come when the world is still asleep. And right now, while retail sleeps and institutions move, HBAR is positioning itself to lead the next digital revolution. If this helped you see the bigger picture, smash that like button so more people can understand what's really unfolding with HBAR. Drop a comment below. Do you think the institutional wave has already begun? Or is the biggest move still ahead of us? And if you're serious about staying early, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Because in the next video, we'll break down exactly which HBAR integrations could spark the next crypto bull cycle. The institutions are moving. The infrastructure is ready. And for those who understand what's coming, this might be the calm before the biggest adoption wave crypto has ever seen.